Hey guys, it's Matt Kids and All. And today is a video, C Lesson 3. So in this C lesson, we're going to be making an app that basically is a calculator. It lets us add, subtract, multiply, and divide. So what we're going to be doing in this, the app will open up. It'll say add, subtract, multiply, or divide. Type one in. So we'll type add, subtract, multiply, or divide. And it'll be more like ASMD, so we'll type one of those 4 options in. Then we have to figure out how to compare 2 strings, so I'll show you guys how to do that. That's cool. So that way we know whether to add, subtract, multiply, or divide. We also are going to get then 2 integers from the console and process them to multiply them or divide them. And then we're going to print the result. So I'll open up my Xcode just to make this a little more clear. So I'll just get right started into it once Xcode's open. Okay, so we're going to go up to File, New Project, Command Line Utility Standard Tool, and we're going to call it Calc 101. Okay, so under main.c, get rid of this printf hello world, and I'll say printf enter, add, subtract, multiply, divide. So now we're going to have a character array called input. I'll just make it 10. FGetS. Input 10 standard input. So I'm reading into input and I'm checking if the last letter of input is a new line. So you probably remember this from C Lesson 1, which you should have watched, where I'm just checking. Okay, so there we go. So now that I've gotten input, we're going to check and see whether input equals add, subtract, multiply, and divide. So I'm going to make, just to make this a little fancier, I'm going to make an integer called operation. And so operation right now, I'm going to make it equal 0. And we're going to check if what they typed in is add. If it is, we're going to make it 1. If it's subtract, we're going to make it 2. If it's multiply, we'll make it 3. And if it's divide, we'll make it 4. Okay, so we'll say if, and here's how we compare 2 strings. We've compared characters before. It looks like this. What you do for strings is you actually use a function called strcmp. So you do strlen, left parenthesis, and then the 2 things you're comparing separated by commas. So first I'll do input, comma, space, and then I'll do quote and add. So I'm comparing and seeing if input equals add. So I'll do left parenthesis. Now that will equal 0. That will return 0, so it'll equal 0 if input is equal to add. So I'll say equals 0. So now I'll do another close parenthesis. So here's one interesting thing about ifs that I've never taught you before. If you have an if it's multiple lines that you're going to be doing, you use curly braces, like this one and this one, to close off the code that runs if it's an if statement. If it's one line of code you're running with if, you can just hit enter, or you can type the code that it's running right here. But semicolon is the only thing that marks a new line. So obviously, since there's no semicolon there, it's considering whatever I'm typing here to be the same as this line. So you can do one-line if statements as well, like this one. It's actually one line since there's no semicolon or curly brace here. So if it's add, then I'm going to make operation equal 1. Oh, sorry, I typed strlen here. I mean strcmp. Sorry. Strcmp input. Then I'll say subtract. Okay, equals 0. Then I'll say operation equals 2. And then I'll do this again. Strcomp input multiply equals 0. And then I'll say operation equals 3. And I'll check if it's divide. and if it is, I'll make operation 4. So now I have this variable that represents what operation we're doing: add, subtract, multiply, or divide. So if none of these were true, it's still going to equal 0 because we haven't set it to anything else. So I'm going to say if operation equals 0, then I'm going to print something that says error and then exit. So I'll say printf, enter, and then I'll just copy this thing that says add, subtract, multiply, or divide to make it work. Now I'll do \n. And now to exit our program, we do exit, left parenthesis, 0, right parenthesis, semicolon. 0 is the error code, and if there's 0, then it means there are no errors. Maybe I'll return 1 or -1, but I'll just do 0 for now. So here we know that they've entered either add, subtract, multiply, or divide. So I'll get to it. So now I'll get these from the console. So I'll make car 1s and car 2s. So I'm going to read into these cars and convert them to numbers. We remember how to do that, hopefully. So we'll do fgetS, 1s, 10, 10, standard input. So now I'll convert these. So if 2 equals A2I, ones, then I'll do this, else say def the second thing you typed was not a number. And since I'm doing the second thing first, I'll do the first thing before it, so. And I'll do an exit 0 here. So that way I know I'm exiting. So I'll have 1. Sorry, this should be 2s. So this is the final compare code. Okay, so now we have 2 and 1 are now numbers. So we're going to check if operation is 1 and we're going to add them. So I'm going to make an int called product. I'm going to say if operation equals 1, then product equals 1 plus 2. If operation equals 2, then product equals 1 minus 2. this is the calculator app we made in a very short amount of time because it's simple and it didn't take us that much effort. So just look at all this code. We're declaring integers, we're declaring strings. It's very complicated. So if you're having any problem with this, I would love if you would tell me right now, because if you are and you start going on to other programming languages without actually understanding these, you might have some issues. Try to understand and figure out and work on this calculator program I've written in C, and goodbye.